There are people who experience the world differently. It's not a choice, not drama, and certainly not a defect. It's simply the way they exist, deeply connected to everything around them. While many navigate life on functional autopilot, these individuals perceive more, feel more, and carry a heavier gaze. Their presence doesn't settle for superficiality. But it's not just about emotions. It's an expanded perception that captures what most people overlook: a change in tone of voice, the weight of silence, an unspoken but deeply felt word. This way of living doesn't come with an on-off switch. It's always there, absorbing the environment, people, energies. Everything enters, everything resonates. An offhand comment, the unvoiced pain of someone close, even the ambiance of a place, all of it has an impact. And it's exhausting, not physically, but deep inside, where no one can see. It's a silent fatigue, an overload of emotional stimuli that's hard to explain. Those who live this way understand it well. The world wasn't exactly designed for this sensitivity. In Jungian psychology, this way of being aligns with the introverted intuitive type. People who don't just see what's in front of them, but feel what's behind it. Guided by symbols, hidden meanings, and what emerges from the unconscious, like a secret language, they live in tune with a depth not easily expressed. For them, living a hurried, predictable, and superficial routine feels like being forced to act in a play they don't believe in. Everything feels a little artificial, disconnected from their essence, a role that doesn't fit their internal script. This misalignment between what they feel and what the world demands creates a kind of loneliness that's hard to describe, a constant sense of being out of place, as though something is wrong with them, when, in reality, it's the world that moves to a different rhythm. Philosophers like Kierkegaard and Heidegger called this authentic existence, the burden of living deeply, even when it hurts, even when no one understands. Jung described this path as essential to individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are inside, not just the person the world expects to see. But that process is far from easy. Becoming whole in a world that's asleep to itself is exhausting. Not the tiredness of working too much, but a deeper depletion, the kind that comes from feeling everything so intensely. Even the mundane becomes a challenge. Trivial conversations, social interactions, and simply being present in certain spaces can drain their energy. And the worst part? No one notices. Sometimes a single word is enough to wound. A gesture can trigger an internal storm. The body feels it as much as the mind, because living with an open soul, in a world that prefers to keep everything closed, is like walking without skin. What many call too much sensitivity isn't an exaggeration. It's simply the natural result of living with an exposed soul, porous, absorbent, and attuned to what others prefer to ignore. There's no off switch. Those who live this way perceive what's between the lines, what isn't said, the pain hidden in someone's eyes. And it's heavy. Heavy because it can't be turned off, and heavy because the world gives no reprieve. People demand practicality, objectivity, and lightness. But how can one offer lightness when their entire being is rooted in intensity? And here lies the problem. People try to fix them, as if they're broken, offering prefab advice, empty cliches, and one-size-fits-all self-help slogans. But feeling deeply isn't something you solve with a stay positive or a just get over it. It's not a phase, it's a way of existing, and understanding that is fundamental. There are different levels of consciousness, and some people are simply born with the ability or the burden to carry more depth. What some dismiss as drama is, in fact, the legitimate expression of an authentic way of being. And what happens when this sensitivity is not understood? It turns inward. When it's ridiculed, silenced, or ignored, it begins to hurt in another way. This sensitivity, which could have been a gift, becomes a source of pain. It turns into suffering because instead of blossoming, the essence retreats inward, and this is where an internal conflict arises. Is it worth being who I am if no one can truly embrace me? And the pain isn't just about being different, it's about being forced to hide that difference in order to keep belonging. Emotional intensity is not, in reality, a defect. It's the beginning of a rare clarity in a world that lives on autopilot. Those who feel deeply see things others don't even notice. But that path is lonely. A kind of journey that demands courage to remain whole, even when everyone else seems broken into pieces, pretending to be okay. Living this way is difficult, yes, but it's also more authentic. To feel deeply is to see with the heart what the eyes cannot. And here comes the cruelest part. Being misunderstood is not just a matter of language. It's an invisible wound for those with an introspective gaze, for those who perceive the world in layers of depth. Being understood is vital. It's not only about being heard, but about being embraced. For these people, speaking is almost like pulling the soul out of their chest and offering it. And when the response is judgment, haste, or indifference, it's not just the conversation that breaks. It's the hope of being able to exist without needing a mask. Carl Rogers, the father of humanistic psychology, said that truly being heard has an almost miraculous effect, and it's true. A genuine listening, one of those rare moments that touches the soul, can heal wounds we didn't even know we had. According to him, one of humanity's deepest pains is having to hide the true self in order to be accepted. And that pain is even greater for those who feel everything so intensely. When a deep person tries to reveal their interior and is met with coldness, sarcasm, or impatience, a silent trauma is born, the trauma of not being embraced in their essence. From there begins a constant effort to edit oneself. You start hiding parts of who you are, softening what you feel, filtering your words before saying anything. You think it through 2, 3, 4 times, not because you want to lie, but because you've learned that showing your truth can scare people off, create distance, or provoke rejection. It becomes a form of emotional survival, a painful adaptation where the fear of judgment outweighs the desire to express yourself. And little by little, you start molding yourself, not to be happy, but to be bearable. But the silence that follows your honesty hurts even more than the solitude of choosing not to speak. What no one tells you is that this pain, when left unrecognized, only grows over time. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, said that human beings don't suffer solely because of pain itself, but because of the lack of meaning that pain carries. And when you speak and no one truly listens, what's lost isn't just the connection, it's the very meaning of communication, of sharing, of existing together. When your words stop being a bridge and become a wall, something inside you begins to harden. You swallow what you feel, repress what you think, smother your truth. But that pain doesn't disappear. It stays there, lodged in your chest, begging to be heard. Because the problem was never about feeling too much. It was about not finding a safe place to feel in peace. Deep down, what you need isn't someone with all the answers. It's someone willing to listen to you with their soul, without haste, without judgment. Jung said that the true act of listening is one that captures even what wasn't said. That's the kind of listening that sets you free, that gives shape to the pain so it can finally find rest. Until such a space exists in your life, staying true to your own truth is, in itself, an act of resistance. Because in a world that glorifies the superficial and marginalizes the profound, staying whole is a kind of bravery, a silent but powerful courage. The courage to not dismantle yourself just to fit into a place where there's no room for your soul. How many times have you felt strange for thinking too much, for feeling too much, for noticing details no one else seems to see? Maybe you tried starting a deep conversation only to be met with, "Oh, you're overthinking." Maybe you shared something that hurt you and the other person changed the subject, as if it were a heavy burden, or maybe you simply chose to stay quiet out of fear of seeming too intense, too dramatic, too sensitive. This happens during shallow conversations at work, in relationships that demand emotional performance, in friendships where you have to filter who you are. Small disappointments pile up, frustrations repeat themselves, silent rebellions born from living in a society that values adaptability more than authenticity. And so, without even realizing it, you start hiding, softening your truth, muting your presence, to fit into a space that was never meant for you. But deep inside, the pain remains. And that pain is proof that you're not disconnected from life. You're simply feeling it at its most real. From a psychological perspective, this experience of suppressing your essence in exchange for social acceptance is one of the quietest triggers of emotional suffering. It's not just a personality trait. We're talking about a refined, open, conscious way of perceiving the world. People like this aren't broken, they simply operate at a level of sensitivity that the world doesn't yet know how to embrace. And the impact goes much further than feelings. It touches mental health, the body, relationships, and the sense of purpose. The issue isn't in the depth itself, but in the culture that still fears it. True transformation begins when we understand that feeling deeply isn't a weakness, but a sign of a vibrant consciousness. Healing doesn't come from adapting to superficiality, but from finding or creating spaces where depth is cherished as richness and not as a problem. If at any moment during this video you felt something stir inside you, then help me share this message with more hearts. Let's reach our goal of 10,000 likes, not just for the numbers, but to show the algorithm that conversations like this deserve space in the world. I promise you, that simple gesture will resonate. Wherever I am, I'll feel immense gratitude for it. Because when we share light, it always comes back in the form of blessings, connections, and clarity that life grants you just when you need it most. And if this journey touched your soul, I'm almost certain the next video will speak to you as well. So subscribe to the channel now and activate the notification bell, because what's coming is full of messages like this one. I promise you, sometimes just 5 seconds can give you words that change everything. But before we say goodbye, I want to ask you an important question. How did this resonate with you? How have you been searching for your peace lately? Your voice is an essential part of this space. I genuinely want to hear you, and I'll read every word with an open heart. Let's keep walking together on this path of self-discovery, because this is just the beginning. See you very soon. Until then.